You hear the call of seagulls flying lazily in the ocean breeze. You see the sun rise over the old bay tower. The waterfall thunders down into the bay water, lapping gently before you. You now stroll the sands of Sentinel Beach. Today we ask ourselves the question, just what were the silent guardians of Sentinel Beach? Whereas Sandover village was presented with mystery and danger of the forbidden jungle on its right, it was presented with equal mystery but also serenity to its left, in the form of Sentinel Beach. Winding gently along the coast, Sentinel Beach likely provided a picturesque environment for the villagers of Sandover to take leisurely strolls and ponder the ancient mysteries of the beach. For the man-made structures, there isn't much that we don't already know. The green eco-vents and mills likely being used to nurture plant and crop life and to aid in the making of flour or bread respectively. But the real mystery lies in the 3 stone structures located at the far end of the beach. Built from stone blocks arranged to form a large rectangle body, and with a sort of balcony at their peak, these 3 structures overlook the bay that surrounds Sentinel Beach. It's not entirely clear what purpose these structures were built for, though one can make a guess with what little we do know about them. Ritual sites, burial mounds, or simple leisure spots akin to nothing more than a precursor equivalent of a park bench. Judging by the steps leading up the balconies, preceded by a large slab of stone at its base, it's easy to imagine a ritual of some sort being performed on these monuments. The scale of these steps tell us that these structures were likely never intended for human use. A being quite a bit larger than humans would comfortably scale them, whereas even the largest human characters would need to climb upon them on all fours. Owing to the events of later games, we know that precursors aren't even close to this size, so we can reasonably surmise that these steps, along with so many other of their great works, were designed at least in part to paint an image of great, awe-inspiring beings in order to encourage worship. There exists, however, another possibility. Precursors built their structures predominantly out of their mysterious metal, and so it is somewhat unusual that these structures were built from stone, though not completely unheard of. Could these have been built by human hands, perhaps? It is possible that at the dawn of mankind, in the earliest days of myth in this world, that man's gods walked alongside him. It could be that in those days lost to prehistory, that the precursors at least had some direct interactions with humankind. When the precursors retreated to the center of the world to begin construction on the planetary defense system in anticipation of the enemies of the future, that early humans felt lost, or even grieved without them. 3 monuments, 3 precursors. Prehistoric man could have created these further precursors for a number of reasons. As memorials, as tributes, or as platforms with which to receive their god's return from the stars someday. Looking at them from the water, we can see that these structures even bear the very likeness of the precursor statues we see dotted around the world. Perhaps all 3. The precursors likely fabricated a story to explain their absence. They create and nurture life wherever they go. Humankind are their children. They would not want their children spending their first years on Earth chasing after them to the center of the Earth, when there was so much more to life to experience. Another prominent feature of this beach is the dilapidated watchtower in the bay, overlooking the entire area. Judging by the windows and materials used, this structure is one of human origin. The most likely purpose for this structure was that of a watchtower. From here one can see the entire beach and bay for quite a distance. This was likely used to foresee and warn of impending lurker attacks, should they try to circumvent the watchful eye of Samos and attack from the beach. Judging by the condition of the tower, it likely hasn't been used or maintained by humans in quite some time, probably due to it being taken over by lurkers, who now use it as a vantage point with which to ambush anyone who strays onto the beach. One curious feature of this area is the launch pads placed upon several sea stacks leading towards the bay tower. The placement of these pads seems quite bizarre when considering the time period in which they were placed, considering this was potentially eons before the tower bay even existed. One possible explanation is that they once led toward a precursor structure that existed in the center of the bay, not unlike a smaller scale lost city that we see on the coast of Rock Village. However, tectonic activity could be more frequent and temperamental in this world, and so it is likely that these launchers, whatever structures that they could have once existed here, as well as many other questionable structures in the world, have been moved to places far from where they were originally stood, or even be destroyed or sunken beneath the earth itself. It is a testament to Precursor construction that many still stand at all, standing defiant against the ravages of time and nature, but also standing watch. Like the structures that Sentinel Beach gets its namesake from. Standing silently in their eternal vigil, these massive stone guardians remain embedded in the cliffs, their guard bisected by a tumbling waterfall between them. Much like the monuments to their left, these colossal sentries are constructed of stone, indicating possible construction by mortal hands. To stand in their gaze is to feel their ancient vigil over the entire beach from left to right. It would be easy to say they simply guard the beach, but the mystery lies in where they stand. They stand side by side, with a noticeable gap between them, filled by the cliff and waterfall. Usually, guards standing this way protect what stands between them. We see in Jak 3 that Precursor robots can be dormant within stone effigies, ready to awaken with a command from the appropriate artifact, such as Vigor's control rod. So if their placement was no mistake, and the true robots slumbering within the cliffs are merely waiting for the day they are to be awoken, then what was it that they were guarding? From the mischief caused by Jak and Daxter, we see that the cliffs adjacent to the Sentinels are unsteady, easily toppled. The cliffs behind the waterfall could be a cave-in of sorts, blocking the entrance to what could be an ancient temple leading within the cliffs. One can imagine hallways lit by torches, captured water from the waterfall redirected into soothing indoor water features, statues lining the walls, untold secrets or relics buried. Perhaps even a road, going straight through the mountain, a bridge over lava cutting through Fire Canyon and leading to the Forbidden Temple, removing the need to go all around the coast. It's also possible that this cave could have been a road leading through the lands closer to the coast, directly towards Precursor Basin. As we can see in this cut content map, there is indeed a road of sorts, serving that exact purpose. It seems to cut through the river, which leads to the waterfall on Sentinel Beach, though this road seems to start from the left of the waterfall, roughly around this location. Perhaps a zoomer run, similar to Mountain Pass, albeit more tropical, a longer but safer alternative to Fire Canyon even. We can only speculate, and speculate we shall, another day. Perhaps the grandest implication of all is that the structures we've examined so far were once all within caves along this very coast. It goes without saying that beaches are formed by the ocean's waves eroding cliffs over time, wearing them down into grains of sand. It's the very cause of this beach's existence to begin with. And so, following this line of reasoning, we can surmise that these sea stacks, arches, and perhaps the very sentinels and monuments were once all part of a temple complex, that wound its way through the cliffs that once extended much further out into the water in eons past. Something like this: a tomb or ceremony chamber, a crossroads starting at the sentinels who guarded further chambers, or a road as mentioned earlier, and a path moving outwards atop an exterior plateau or chamber where the launchers were that has long since been worn away. A connection can be drawn between these possible underwater ruins and the Underport that we see in Jak 2. Assuming that this map is correct, then the Underport would lie quite close to the possible location of these ruins. They would extend out through Sentinel Beach Bay, winding their way through the depths, before ending somewhere under the future location of Haven City's port. It's also a possibility that these structures were interconnected with Mars' tomb. The architecture and style, as well as materials used, are all the same, possibly built by human hands, honouring the connection between human and Precursor. The text in Mars' tomb translates directly as tomb. While it is possible that this underground network was repurposed as a sort of ceremonial tomb for Mar in lieu of his disappearance, it is also possible that this structure was intended as a sort of ceremonial tomb for the Precursors themselves. Some rare ancient humans could have possessed a sort of foresight, and could divine the past and future. Seeing the Precursors' undoing at the hands of the Metalheads and Darkmakers, they erected this section in honour of their makers, and for wars both past and future. Proto-sages, sorcerers or shamans. Perhaps these ancient humans were even the ancestors of Onin. Everything stems from the Precursors, and eco is their very essence. Could it be that certain humans can channel eco in different ways, tapping into the Precursors' affinity for time and fate, witnessing the cycle of creators, destroyers and heroes caught between them for all time? All secrets lost to time. But the greatest secret of all. These logs. What on earth are these logs for? Like you uppercut them and they rise up, letting you get onto the ledge. Yeah, great. But have these people not heard of ladders? Not to mention the logistics of moving them. What, did they cut one down from Snowy Mountain, have it carried down to the volcanic crater in the gondola, moved across the lava somehow, carted all the way through Mountain Pass, moved across more lava, get the Blue Sage to hover it onto a boat, go all the way down around the coast into Sentinel Bay, hovered up again from the boat, before finally being driven into the ground by unknown means? I don't know. Thank you for joining me in our exploration of the mysteries of Sentinel Beach. Join me next time as we explore the grim realm where sea dragons sleep, the island of Misty Island.